My name is Kelli Sager, and I'm a reporter that I represent a lot of reporters and editors as a lawyer. And I just wanted to make 2 points that come up both from the last panel and this panel. And one is this notion about who owns the privilege. And I always hate to disagree with Judge Zobel, but I have to in this instance, because the notion that the source has to own the privilege, and so if the source is given some kind of a waiver that the privilege goes away, means that there really is no privilege, because what you have is what you have in the Valerie Plame situation, where everybody is asked in advance to sign the now so-called Plame waivers, or you have civil litigants who are deposing people and everybody denies that they're the source, and then you say to the reporter, well, they've all said that either they didn't say it or if they said it, you're allowed to testify, and the privilege then has no meaning. So if you ascribe a value to the confidential source privilege, then it has to belong to the reporter, who really is acting, as I think Vanessa said, on behalf of the public and getting information out. But the second thing that Vanessa said that I think is really important, if you look at the broader picture, is this notion that the reporter is the only source of information. I've been doing this 20 years, and I have never had a case where the reporter knew the identity of a source, who was the only person who could tell you where the kidnapped child was being held. You all hear these parade of horrible situations, but those aren't ever the cases that come up. Instead, you have prosecutors who say they can't prosecute unless the reporter testifies, which turns out not to be true, or criminal defendants who say nobody else can give me this information, which turns out not to be true, or civil litigants who say this is the easiest place for us to get it, which actually is the truth. It's easier to get the information from the reporter. It would be easier to make the criminal defense lawyer say whether the defendant has confessed. It would be easier to make the criminal defendant take the stand and ask them, did you do it? But we put higher values on these protections because there is another interest at stake, not just getting the answer that we want. And if you really believe there's a value here, which I think there is, you can't accept those answers. The prosecutors, unlike journalists, have subpoena powers. They have investigators too, and somehow journalists every day work very hard to get information that prosecutors who have all this other power say they can't get, or lawyers who have all the investigators and subpoena powers say they can't get. And it simply isn't true.